Hello, my name is Alex Mallerstein, and today I will be discussing the case of Prevor versus FDA. The product at the center of this case is DSW. DSW, or diphoterine skin wash, consists of a liquid substance contained in a canister propelled by pressurized gas. It is used to prevent and minimize accidental chemical burn injuries that occur in the industrial workplace. It works by removing splashes of acidic or basic substances off the skin by physically and mechanically washing the chemicals away and by neutralizing and diluting acids and bases. Prevor claims that 90% of the product's effect is due to the mechanical action of physically displacing the chemicals. It is currently registered as a Class 2A device in Europe. In August of 2009, Prevor submitted a request for designation for DSW to the FDA's Office of Combination Products. Prevor's stance was that DSW should be classified as a medical device due to the primary mode of action being the mechanical spraying of the solution. However, the Office of Combination Products disagreed with Prevor and determined that DSW should be classified as a combination product. The FDA stated the liquid solution achieves its primary intended purposes, at least in part, through chemical action and therefore cannot be classified as a device. The Office of Combination Products concluded that the liquid is considered a drug component. Further, they believe that it's the liquid and not the mechanical spraying that provides the larger contribution to the overall therapeutic effect. Prevor tried to appeal this decision, but the Office of Special Medical Programs affirmed the decision to classify DSW as a combination product. Prevor disagreed with the FDA's conclusion and filed suit in June of 2011. The court found that the FDA overstepped in their interpretation of drugs and medical devices expanded outside of the definition written in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act states a device does not achieve its primary intended purposes through chemical action, and the FDA significantly expanded this definition when they determined that primary intended purpose can be achieved at least in part. The court remanded the ruling back to the FDA and instructed the agency to narrow its definition of primary intended purpose and explain its conclusion that the chemical effect achieves this primary intended purpose. On remand, the FDA again determined that DSW was a combination product with a drug primary mode of action. The FDA dropped its argument that the liquid is a drug that achieves its primary purpose in part through chemical action. The agency now argued that DSW cannot be considered a device, which by definition does not achieve its primary intended purposes through chemical action. The agency interpreted this to mean that the chemical action does not meaningfully contribute to its primary intended purposes, and therefore DSW cannot be considered a medical device and is a combination product with a drug primary mode of action. The ruling was again sent to the courts, where both Prevor and the FDA asked for summary judgment from the court. The issue for the court to decide is, did the FDA again misinterpret the definitions of drugs, medical devices, and combination products as stated in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act when they classified DSW as a combination product, and can the court order the FDA to classify DSW as a device? In the end, the court denied the FDA's motion for summary judgment and partially granted and partially denied Prevor's motion for summary judgment. The court denied Prevor's request that the court order the FDA to classify DSW as a device, but the court agreed to vacate the FDA's designation of DSW as a combination product. The court did not accept the FDA's interpretation of meaningfully contributes to mean achieves. This interpretation falls outside the bounds of reasonableness granted to agencies under Chevron deference, which holds that an agency's interpretation cannot go beyond the meaning of the statute. However, the court was unwilling to reject the FDA's expert findings and make a classification directly contrary to those findings. The court acknowledged that under Chevron deference, the FDA can still find DSW to be a combination product with a drug primary mode of action upon remand, but the court cannot affirm the FDA's classification at this time because it incorrectly interpreted the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The court remanded the case again for reconsideration by the FDA. There were a few important terms and definitions that came up in this case. The first is remand, which is when a case or matter is returned from one court to another or from a court to an administrative agency. The second is summary judgment, which is a judgment granted if there is no issue of material fact and the party is entitled to judgment in its favor. The third term is Chevron deference or agency deference. This is a principle that the courts will accept an agency's reasonable interpretation of the ambiguous terms of a statute that the agency administers. And that is Prevor versus FDA. Thank you for watching.